Gonna rock it now. Gonna rock it now. By Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna rock it now. Gonna rock it now. Rock it, Jackson Aurelia. T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like your Resi in a bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now, fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Oh, it would help if I actually had the camera on the right place. Hey guys, you're welcome to listening to the Trinity Force podcast. Everybody look at my cute little doggy. Look at her. Oh, hi, Eris. Oh,
The
hi.
crazy thing is the camera was trying to center on the dog and it kept like beating like a heart.
I can't get it. I can't get it on the dog. Guys, my name is Adam Potophobia Cogswell, and if you are watching live, you're looking at the beautiful Eris, my German Shepherd. So, hi, puppy. Oh, yeah, smell the camera.
She just licked the camera. It's disgusting.
Oh, puppy.
That's a pretty girl.
Oh, everyone say hi. Pretty girl. Look at you. You're so come on, give me a little tit. I'm gonna
Pretty
give you a
girl,
little-
Eris.
Oh, yes. Okay, so sorry if you're listening to the MP3, but as we started, it is the Christmas episode. It means we are all drinking. Hi, guys. We are all drinking. We are having fun. We are enjoying Christmas. Cheers.
The Christmas
Cheers,
season.
my friends.
'Tis the time.
So we have some stuff to go over. We have some Christmas stuff to talk about. We have some reflections on the last year. This podcast is going to be a lot of fun.
Meaning we
believe
have
it.
no idea what it's going to be about at this moment, but we're going to make it up as we go.
Isn't that how we do all of our shows?
No,
I mean,
there's
usually we have
plan.
a general idea.
Yeah. We're in uncharted territory. at the
Gong!
moment.
Somebody
I
hit
don't
the
like
gong
it.
right now!
The gong. Oh, God.
Wait.
So unprepared.
Yeah.
That was so delayed.
All right. Gong's been hit.
All right, guys. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about donations. Then we're going to get into advertisements. Then we're going to get into the body of the podcast, whatever that may be. So first and foremost, we had 2 $20 donations come in over the last couple of weeks. They actually came in a couple of weeks ago. I apologize for you guys not getting this out and talking about it sooner. But Nathan, he donated $20 to the podcast. And he says, I spend 3+ hours in a car every day, and the podcast helps me get my LOL fixed when I can't play. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
And
Thank
Zero
you.
writes in, hi guys and a girl. As a new player, I've gotten a lot of insight from the T-Force podcast this last few months. I've also enjoyed the bootcamp videos a lot as I've worked my way up towards level 30, and I keep looking forward to practicing in Bronze Bootcamp and learning even more. Over the past couple of weeks, I've played my placement matches and have been apparently placed in Gold 4. Now I can't play in Bronze Bootcamp.
Congratulations.
So thanks, I guess. Keep up the good work.
That's good. That's
That's
Or you
awesome.
can
great
do-
placement.
You can do Battle Arena still.
Yes, you can.
I was
Yes.
greatly disheartened when I couldn't do Battle Arena anymore. Some would argue that I avoided playing solo queue for a while just so I could stay in gold and do Battle Arena.
Did they really? So
Yeah.
wait, you went and played Battle Arena with everybody else?
I would play Battle Arena, but if I was
can
in
guess
gold
spot.
1 for a long time.
You can guess.
just-
Coach.
you
one
just can't
cares.
play
Just
AD
go in
carry.
there. Yeah, no one cares. As long as you're not playing like your mains, no one cares. Daze can go in there and go play jungle.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
like
some
Bronze
bronze
Bootcamp.
5. Right?
Can we get a Daze guest on Bronze Bootcamp as jungle?
Sure, absolutely. I
Yes.
will absolutely do that.
This is the best. So, if you guys haven't already looked into it, Gatherer's Granola is doing a sponsorship with the podcast. Sandro sent me the total today. We have had 10 people order so far in 1 week. That means that one person out of that 10 is going to win $10 in RP. Now, if you order again and you're number 11, that means you are fighting, you're one person fighting for RP, right? So, why aren't you ordering?
You have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose right now. bit.ly/T-Force Granola with the offer code TForceGG to get 10% off, and you get entered in a chance to win $10 in RP. And if you're the next person in the order, then of the next 10, every time you order, so like if there's 2, you have a 50% chance to win $10 in RP. So why aren't you guys ordering right now? Like, apparently...
It's funny because out of the 6 bags that I have, 2 of them are already gone, and that's just from the past last 2 days of last week at work and this morning. Apparently,
Wow.
people love squirrel bait. That shit's like crack around the office. So
So they've been all eating it?
Yeah.
Why have you ordered it and bring it in for like the holidays? Like these guys, if you're on the East Coast, you'll have it within like 2 days. I think she messaged me the next day. She's like, how'd this get to me so quickly?
Right. Like I gave him my address at like 4 p.m. and then the next day I had granola at my door. It was really creepy, actually.
They're great stocking
It was
stuffers.
scary fast.
Yes, they're great stocking stuffers. You probably won't get it in time for Christmas, but you can, stuff your stocking later. You can keep your stocking out.
I was thinking about putting a couple in some stockings, but then I decided I wanted it all for myself. So
Yeah, I've been
I'm gonna do
really
that
stingy
instead. I'm
with
just gonna eat
mine.
all
Like
mine.
it's all mine.
Have you been taking it to work and eating it?
Yeah, I brought a few bags to work. I have them hidden away so nobody else sees them when I take them out.
Oh, you see,
So I have to share.
that won't fly. I've had the same girl ask for granola every time I walk in the door now. So
That's a tragedy.
I know I'm gonna be remembered as the granola guy, which I guess isn't a bad thing because my coworkers love me for food.
I feel like you could be known for much worse things, Chira, so you should be grateful.
I am in some circles, so it's all right.
Well, as I type in my gaffes in the show doc, that's it. Days, what's your favorite flavor of the Gatherer's granola?
I don't remember what it's called, but it's one with the big granola chunks in it and the
Is it-
peanut butter.
What color?
Oh,
Orange.
Orange.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes,
that's the
yes.
Badgers. Badgers
That
best?
one's
Is
so
what-
No,
good.
Badgers is blue.
Mhm.
Get it
Is
right.
it? Oh, you're
Yeah,
wrong.
the Badgers is blue.
Whatever the
I would
orange one is. Order the
Is it-
orange one.
Is
I
it
would
chipmunk
look-
chunk?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right.
And,
It's all
and
about
Punch,
it's all
your
about them
favorite?
turtle tracks. It's the
I was
only
just
one I
eating
won't
it.
bring
I
with
wasn't
me.
even paying attention.
That's
to the
because Daisy
packaging.
sit there literally just grabbing handfuls and shoving.
Right, exactly. Like the packaging didn't even play in.
So far, I have to go with Turtle Tracks. I've only
Turtle
tried
Tracks.
the three: the Chunk, Turtle Tracks, and Fox's Fancy. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, since this is already devolving into a shit show, we're gonna get into our main topic of conversation tonight. They don't think I actually have anything prepared, but I actually do, and I was holding it back to make
See,
them
that's
think
what you
on
say?
the spot.
You
I think you
say
just don't-
that.
So this is the T-Force Christmas party. Cheers. No to Claude because he has to do family stuff, so everybody cheers. Days isn't drinking for some reason.
I know, I'm sorry. I was in a rush to get on the cast. I almost missed it.
Oh. All right, so what we were talking about tonight is we're going to reflect on the past year of Trinity Force podcast. We're going to reflect on the last year of League of Legends. And we're going to talk about our best and worst of the last year of League of Legends and the podcast. What did we like the most? What did we hate? What did we like the least? What did we enjoy about Season 4? What did we hate the most about Season 4? What was our most anticipated patch in Season 4? Now, that one's going to be hard because I know you guys weren't prepared for that, and neither was I. But I'm going to actually leave this open to the public and let you guys, somebody jump in. What was the thing that you hated the most about last year that you're happy that Riot fixed?
The thing I hated the most was Jax's ability to dominate in the top lane, which also happened to be the thing I loved the most when I got to play Jax out of the top
What
lane.
about Jungle Jacks?
That's irrelevant because that's right now. That's the current stuff. I'm talking in the past year when Jax was in his heyday of power until they nerfed his early game again. That was probably my favorite time to play solo queue.
What I hated most about, honestly, the beginning of last season, as weird as it sounds, I was really angry when they changed Vision and you can only have 3 wards as a support. Like, I used to be that person that had carried around, like, 10 wards and had, like, the entire map warded. And when they changed it to the 3 wards, I was pretty upset about it. And, I don't know, it ended up working out to the best. That's an example of one of those situations where you really don't want to change and you're worried about a change and you're not accustomed to it, and it ends up working out for the best for everybody involved. But that was pretty rough for me.
Why don't we use that to talk about a good, this is actually a good segue into using Vision properly, I think. So a lot of people have wrote in, they've talked about, I've had to make these adjustments. That's the first time I played in Season 1. So when that Vision change happened, Days, how did you adjust? How did the new Vision, what do you think, how it opened up the game? Do you think it's making better players? Are there things that people can do now that we don't see people doing, etc.?
I think that I think that it helped with the game in general, and I think it helped with the support role. As a whole, you have to be a lot more strategic with where you're putting your Vision now, because you can't just spam the map with it like you used to. And you develop more of a game sense, like that game sense that Chira always talks about in the jungling, where you just happen to know where people are. You just have that like sixth sense. Now, because you don't have those words and you don't have that crutch, you have to think about where the jungler is, when he's going to gank you, things like that. And it also kind of gave everybody else in the game that responsibility of warding. Like season 2, season 3, I heard you guys talk about it all the time. Where one second.
We have kids. The Christmas party. Naked kids running around.
Okay.
That's the best thing ever.
Can you sleep in a little bit?
Sure.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, I was gonna on the topic of that game sense. I wanted to bring up.
Sorry, hold on. I'm sorry for anybody listening to the MP3. He just yelled, "Get off of me!"
Yeah, he just got to get off of me and then jumped into his arm. So it was kind of like a
All right,
one of
all
those
right.
little kid
Punch,
contradictions.
go for it.
Yeah, I just want to bring up really fast like how important that game sense is, because I've been doing top lane escapades now, and my timer for when it's safe to go aggressive and when it's not, when the jungler might be nearby and when he's not, is totally off than it is for bot lane. And bot lane, I'll just have a general idea of like, okay, I think we should back off now. We're overextended. This is a problem.
They start to play
and top
a little
lane
differently, right? And bottom lane, like, there's 2 people to kind of give you a clue of what's
that
going
too. It's also easier if one person gives away. You can just tell by their body language, even though you're
By their
like
actions
watching how they
anyway.
move. Yeah, their actions. If you have one person of the 2 give it away, yeah, it's a greater opportunity for you to notice that something is up. But again, yeah, in the top lane, just timings in general. If I don't see the jungler on the map, or if I don't have wards out, I'm just scared out of my mind because I think I'm always gonna get ganked.
As you should be.
Well, it's
Yep.
sad. I'm on the opposite. Like, I'm never scared in top lane because I probably make it out of ganks. We'll say 51%.
Well, I
out of the
also
time.
ping every
Oh, no, I
time the
know.
jungler shows up. Like
But
ever.
I'll be honest though, but like every time you ping, I'm like, I know, I saw it right. Like for the most part, it's probably 50% though. It's like 50-50 again.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. In the top lane, you get like this weird sense. You're like, I know I should back off. What's funny is Dom and I were talking about this today, just how players play. We actually used Punch. We were talking about you just a little bit. We were comparing you to his brother as AD carries and how you guys play. You both have different play styles. Punch is a very safe AD carry, doesn't take a lot of risks, but can carry the game. And Victor, if he makes the risks work, Dom's brother, if the risks that he takes are worth it, he can carry the game that way. Does that make sense?
I was about to say it's so different. Whereas like Punch will come and just win the game out basically by himself if you can set up a strong enough tank line early and he can get to where he wants farm wise. And Victor, on the other hand, will he'll go really hard
He'll go
early
through the
and
line.
try to and he'll try to just brute force everything down. So
It never works for me.
Yeah.
But though my point here is like in top lane, I play like Victor, where I take more risks than I play safe. For every one time I play safe, I take 2 risks. Like I really try to all in somebody, or I come back and I all in somebody. But you still get that like weird sense because of you drop your ward early and you're like, all right, my ward is down for 2 minutes, and I'm like, I think jungler's not going to come up here. And the next thing I know, the jungler's there and camping me. So you got to pay attention to it.
You know, you're developing that game sense, especially it happens all the time, like with every support I've spoken to. When you go, I think someone is in that bush, let me put a ward in it, and you die putting a ward in the bush that you knew someone was in. Sometimes it's better to just accept, just embrace that instinct and not go near it because there's probably someone in that bush.
But I really want to know if someone's in that bush.
I know, I do it all. I still do it.
Oh,
I know, I'm like, I'm going to die. And then I put the ward in the bush and I go, I died, but I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, right.
Somehow that justifies it because I knew it was going to happen. It's okay.
It's a step warding thing. We always talk about how you should step ward into Baron, but then as you're step warding, you're going to die because they're already at Baron. So
Right.
How do you?
Well, I
get
mean,
around that?
we lost a game against the fans the other day for that very reason. Like, we were split up around the map, and we had people moving over towards Dragon because this was the 5th Dragon for our team if we were to get it, and we didn't step toward the bush, and we were kind of hiding in one bush, and myself and I believe our support got caught out because they just rolled right on through from the nearby bush, and we didn't have it warded in our side of the jungle, and they crushed us for it.
Right. Well, so,
Even though they were behind, they won the game right off that.
right. So we're talking about how Vision. Days didn't like the vision change, but it's come around to it. I kind of agree with that. Like, I really liked the beginning of I like the end of season 3 where you could just ward fuckloads, but it forced the support to spend tons of money on wards. Like, you didn't get to buy
Not
items.
tons, all of their money
All
on
of your
wards.
money. If you ended up with one item other than your wards and your boots at the end, like, it was a miracle. You usually planned on one item. Like,
And
you
if
would
you
go
did, it
lock
was-
it or you go Randuin.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But you
if you-
never had anything else.
Right.
I liked the changes. At the beginning of season 4, I liked all the trinkets, just because first of all, it was such a big change. I just like changes that just kind of like affect the entire aspect of the game because it makes me rethink things, different strategies and whatnot. But I also liked how, and this is my theory in solo queue, that people would actually start warding now. I was really excited about that, and then it turns out that people still didn't ward in solo queue. I mean, people would still not even place their trinkets sometimes, and it was really annoying. But
It
Or
got
forget to buy a
better.
trinket.
right,
It got noticeably better by the end of the year, though.
It
So
did.
like,
Oh, absolutely.
as much as we can bitch about it, I will say like, hey, now maybe instead of just the trinket ward, your teammate might throw down one ward during the course of the game rather than 0. That's one more ward that
Then they would have dropped anyway.
exactly. And I mean, it's. I kind of feel like it's one of those.
Well, as
it's
I
a
played the
conditioning
game,
thing.
Through season 4, I kind of relied on the vision ward, and I probably most of our listeners did as well, as relied just on the vision ward they had and didn't pick up a lot of sweepers. I've noticed now that walking into preseason 5 and even before, I buy so many wards now. If you look at how many wards I place a game, it's probably I think my average right now is like 7 wards placed a game, which is
That's it?
700% up than what it was. That's 7 green ward, and honestly, it's
7 wards.
Well, it's better than what most people would drop, which is their trinket ward every
Yeah.
once in a while. You know, these are like
I'm just messing with you.
right, like. But every time I go back now, I'm buying 3 green wards. Every time I go back, if I can afford it, after I buy my item, it's 3 green wards, and if my pink is dead, buy a pink. Otherwise, if my pink is in a weird spot, I move my pink to a spot that we can use it. So, and that has really allowed me to start snowballing a little more in lane. I think like I played the Cyan game with fans, or not even fans. Every time I came back to lane, if they had already killed my pink ward, I bought a new pink ward. I spent 100 gold and put a pink ward down in that bush. If that pink ward gives me 1 minute of vision, I find it worth my time.
Yeah.
Because then I don't get ganked and I survive and I don't give them extra gold. So top lane punch, pink wards, it's insanely, it's just incredibly worth your money.
Yeah, I should start buying those because I don't.
Yeah, it's you just drop it. I honestly, even dropping in the lane, like you would think, oh, they're gonna kill it, but you will get 2 minutes out of that pink ward. And it's also, there comes a little strategy. How do I walk up in this lane and drop the ward so they don't see it? Pro tip: if you're on blue side, you can drop it. You can walk and miss a creep, but you'll walk in through your tri bush on blue side. And you can drop it over the edge into the bush.
I do like doing that. Yeah, it's pretty sneaky. But yeah, I just when I play top lane, I just always forget to buy pink wards for some reason. I always feel like I'm pressed for gold in top lane.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I need to get like a certain item, and I'm either always forced it back too soon, or I suck at the top lane champion, so I didn't last hit well enough.
That's probably a common misconception of how top lane champions play, because you're really not pressed for gold unless you are building a Rod of Ages. Like at that point, I agree. You should probably save all your gold that you can to get that Rod of Ages as quickly as possible. But if you're going back, if you've backed and you go back to lane with 700 gold, I think you're wasting the gold you have in your inventory by not providing yourself with more time in lane to make up for the difference. That's, if you go back to lane without a ward and you have 700 gold in your pocket, you die and you only made 30 gold, is it worth it? You have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And I think bottom lane is probably the same way. You ask a support player, was that worth it to go back to base with 900 gold and not buy a ward? I guess that's kind of like a generic question here.
I have the same problem he does, though, when I'm not playing support. Like, when I'm playing support, as far as I'm concerned, my income's very disposable in terms of, it's very worthwhile for me to buy lots of wards, for me to buy lots of potions, all that sort of thing. But when I do play mid and sometimes top, it does. You feel very pressured to get those early items. Especially those big items. Yeah, I do, personally. But that might just be because I have this mentality, I'm not supporting, I need to do damage. Oh my gosh.
Or
Wait,
avoid
you're telling me
dying.
when you're not supporting, you feel like you do damage? Because I swear to God, when you support, you feel like you have to do damage. So I'm trying to figure out. Actually, so I just looked it up. I average 18 wards per game. I ward 93% more than most fighters.
18's a respectable number, much better than 7.
As
I
a
bet
support,
mine's lower.
I have 17 wards per game, and I am only 49%. I ward more than 49% of supports. We're all gonna type right now.
Yep, we're all checking it out
I
now.
know. We'll just type in the Lance for like.
Overall, you ward more than 91% of recorded players.
You do?
You guys are going to be like just absolutely great examples. I'm going to be here like 3 words a game.
Look at
Just-
Punch. What
one of
Punch?
the
What's
As a
your ward?
marksman, you ward more than 99% of marksmen.
Yeah, you do. You ward a ton.
Nice.
That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna take a swig for that.
Absolutely. Days, what do you got for your support wardings?
My support, I average 23 wards per game.
Jesus Christ.
It used to be a lot higher than that,
And Chira,
so I need to work on that.
As a fighter, I average 11 a game.
which is
75%.
you're getting a little
More than
jungle,
75%. It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I play more jungle than anything else, but as a tank, I'm 9 a game, but it's funny because apparently I never ward when I'm mid because I'm only 25%.
You
But
sound
I
like
barely-
me when I play mid. Like I don't.
I
ever
barely
ward.
play mid, so I
Well,
ward more
the
than
story at the end of the
50%
day
players.
is we're all platinum or higher level players. If you want to get better, ward more and pay attention to the wards you drop. I mean, I think that really comes
Right.
down to this: is warding is information.
I will say I probably buy more pink wards than almost anybody else in games that I play with, and a lot of that's just because I like having deep pinks in the enemy jungle. Just because if they're silly and they don't run past them, or they don't run through the bush, or they don't pay attention, I have like infinite vision for a really long time. So I don't know. I love the changes that they made for this current season though, because I feel like I can just go in and ward, especially if I'm playing a really, really strong counter jungler, because I'm going to spend most of my time in the enemy jungle as it is right
what's
now.
great
Anyway.
is that junglers aren't ganking as often as they were before, so that you don't really have to spend as much on wards, but you should still be spending as much as you were in the previous seasons. But you're not punished as hard as if you don't spend that extra money on wards, because junglers aren't ganking as often. Because I've noticed my mid is level 6 by the time I'm level 4 as a jungler.
Yeah. I do feel a lot safer being aggressive in bot lane. It's a lot easier to push now. It's a lot easier to punish people. It's a lot harder for them to come back because they're not getting as many ganks. Like usually that's what would happen if a lane got turned around on me. It was usually because we were able to get ganked, and it's nice. It's nice to have that freedom to kind of snowball your lane and keep the enemy out of it. But yeah, like Chiro was saying, throw down pink wards in their jungle. You will find spots that you will be surprised. You can put a pink ward in their jungle and it will last you for like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And you watch them walk by it like 4 times and you almost want to scream in all chat and be like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Well,
It's
and
pretty funny.
the best thing is, even if it just catches a glimpse of them, that little
Right.
glimpse is enough to be like, they're in the top jungle. Top or mid's going to get either ganked or they're going to keep farming in that area. So bottom, if you want to go crazy,
Right.
feel free to go goddamn berserk, because you can right now. But
What's that bush that the LCS casters always point out? It's in the top purple jungle bush that's across from the red.
Yep.
And
Yes.
Yep,
teams
in
love
fact-
to put pink wards in there because
Yep, I
no
put
one
pinks
ever
in there all
checks
the
it.
That was
time.
that was the spot that I was thinking of when I say that I like the deep ward with a pink. It's that bush, because for the most part you're not just running. Like if you're gonna go to top jungle, you're either gonna go straight to golems there, or I guess Krugs now. You're gonna go straight to Krugs, or you're gonna run to the Raptors. If you're going to the top side jungle, you usually don't make that beeline straight to the red buff unless like red's up, and even still, you don't always run through that bush when you go through it, just
You've never
because.
touched that bush. Ever.
Yeah, so I mean, you could potentially have a ward in there forever until like some crazy fights break out or
Well,
whatever.
until
and
late game,
people are
when you
moving
guys
around.
are walking through the jungle, or they're ahead, they're gonna see it. Otherwise,
Right.
Well, let's kind of move off of wards for a little bit. Punch, do you have something that you hated about this last season?
Not really. I was trying to think of some change that I really disliked. I felt like there was a period of time where I just wasn't any good at any of the meta marksmen, which is a problem for me since I try to really
Play marksman.
play all the meta marksmen, especially in solo queue. I thought it was around the time just before Tristana got really good, but I can't put my finger on what patch that was.
Sure, that was end of the season.
Because most of the time, like the marksmen I really love to play in solo queue are the ones with mid game power spikes like Lucian, Ezreal, Corki, because you can rely on yourself to peel for yourself, and most of the solo queue games are won in mid game. So when you're the strongest, then you give your team a good chance to win. So yeah, there was that time right before Tristana got good, and even Tristana she doesn't have a mid game power spike. So like right around that area, I just felt like I was weak.
What
as a
AD
marksman.
carries were extremely strong right then?
Lucian was strong of all season.
Lucian was strong pretty much the entire season.
I thought Twitch was really strong at that
was.
time, and it was right around the same time that Vayne was really strong because of the Blade of the Rune King spikes on both of those champions.
You're right.
Okay.
It was Lucian, Twitch, and Vayne that were the strong ones.
I've never been a
But
believer
Lucian-
in Vayne or solo queue.
Lucian was getting banned out like every game back
But
then,
we had
though.
Blue
so.
Ezreal at the beginning of the season, right? Or am I thinking into season 3?
That was
You
end
s-
of season.
That was season 3.
Everything starts blurring together. So
It's been a
Yeah.
long time, man.
Yeah, beginning of the season was, let's see, Jinx, Lucian came out pretty early on, and they were both good. Lucian wasn't picked up for a while. But
Jinx was
good. And Sivir was also reworked
Yes,
around that
she
time.
was.
Sivir was
Yeah.
really good.
When her Q damage was bonkers.
Yep. I liked that time. That time was great.
Yeah, that was when Dom bought me Sivir and made me play it every time I laned with him. So.
I'll say that since we're going with what we didn't like, season 3 was not kind to me, or season 4 rather was not kind to me, because that was the tank top laners: Mundo, Shyvana, Trundle, Nasus, maybe a little.
Yeah, none of the
Sage.
people that you really like to play.
I like to go. I mean, I didn't really play Rumble. If I would have played Rumble during that time and it would have clicked for me, that probably would have made a difference and allowed me to. My problem was I didn't like to play solo queues. I didn't like to play the champions. Like I like to go ham on the top lane. I like to have fun. I like the duel. You would think Riven. I'm good at Riven, but I'm terrible with Riven. So I just need to learn to play her. But yeah, like I didn't like. I love Shyvana. Punch remember this in season 3. Remember how I came up with that Shyvana strat and I'm like counter jungling with her and stuff. And then like you would think going into season 4 I'd love her, but then everyone started to play her, and I'm kind of like the whole the Claude syndrome. Like oh everyone's playing her. I don't want to play her anymore.
I don't want to play her anymore.
Right.
But yeah, the whole because of masteries, the tank meta came around. Mundo was like super powerful then, and we would play ranked 5s, and I couldn't be Ponophobia. I couldn't go ham like until later in the game where I could just run at people. But like that mid game power spike where I like to play like really, I like to play crazy and do fun things and roam and whatever it may be. The meta did not allow me to do that. So top lane was, in my opinion, boring, and now top lane is a lot of fun in this season.
I had the
It's almost
same
fun.
problem with early in the season with support because it was all about Leona and Thresh and Braum when he came out, like all those really tanky supports that I just don't enjoy playing as much.
And that was because of the Terran's Embrace or the Relic
Right.
Shield, right?
Well, no, that was great. Like at beginning of season 4 when everyone could buy Relic Shield.
That's right.
That was great. But yeah, it just near the beginning of the season, it was all tanks in support roles, and I played season 3. I played a lot of Annie, a lot of Zyra, a lot of Sona, and they just weren't as effective. And
Well, they started nerfing.
the tanks
they
were
nerfed
so
the hell out of
strong.
it.
Yeah, they nerfed the
Right,
hell
they
out of them
did.
because of what had happened at Worlds and,
And they
everything
made
else.
masteries. The masteries
Yeah, changed those up.
allowed you. Well, it was Relic Shield and the masteries, which allowed, like you said, Thresh and Leona and Braum
To withstand the poke. Like normally you could out poke them and get them down and you had a chance in lane. When like before they nerfed Leona's health regen and things like that, you could poke them down all day and it wouldn't matter. Like 5 seconds later they'd have enough HP to all in you. So like I feel for you like in top lane. I know how it feels to be like completely out of tune with what's going on.
You know,
in
in
terms
bottom
of what
lane,
you
like when
prefer.
you're playing like you like poke, you like damage, so you like to poke people down to like win the lane. When you're playing top lane, it's the same thing, like you said, bottom, where if you poke somebody, there's no dueling. It's 2 wet noodle fights.
Right.
Like, okay, I smacked you, but Trundle just gained all his life back because creeps died around me, and I'm Nasus, and I gained my life back. Like, it's boring.
Well, it was also that was at the same time that Relic Shield was so absolutely ridiculous that Nasus was gaining more health from just standing around than he was from auto attacking. It's like there was a reason why he was ridiculously bonkers, and it's because that hard early game that he usually has was nullified due to the fact that he got so much passive health
Tristana, Karma.
regeneration. Yeah.
So what did you like, jungle? Really, you are a resident jungler. How was season 4? Did it treat you well?
I didn't play as much like I probably played, I want to say like maybe 6 to 8 ranked games from April to September. I didn't play as much ranked this year just because of like being busy and graduating and all that other stuff. But I don't know. It's weird because sometimes I like playing assassins out of the jungle, but for the most part, I wasn't a huge fan of the. Don't get me wrong, I love playing Kazakhs, but I never really liked having to pick an assassin out of the jungle almost every game, and we saw a lot of that last season. I mean, we saw a lot of like the aggressive, more damage heavy Lee Sins or again Kazakhs, which Pantheon, whatever you want to say. I just even earlier in the season when we saw Wukong a lot. Those champions are fun for me to play every once in a while, but I prefer playing bruisers, like Skarner,
Initiators.
Olaf. Yeah, initiators, or like people that can go in and kind of like take hits.
Well, we've
been a
always
huge
said,
bruiser
Chira,
fan.
you're the guy who is give you Udyr, give you Olaf, give you somebody, give you Elise. That's your
Yeah.
3. Like, give you somebody that you can just be Chira. You can be
Yeah,
an
I can
asshole,
go in
you
and
can
be
run in
like
and just whatever
well,
you want to do.
And the other thing, those champions have a little bit of give for like running in and like taking hits. Like you don't have to worry about, oh hey, I'm gonna play overly aggressive. I'm on
Right.
Kazakhs. I took 3 hits that I probably shouldn't have while I was running in or jumping in or whatever. I'm not being necessarily punished as hard for it. And it's not saying that like I'm not doing it because I'm not paying attention to how I should be playing the champion or something like that. I just prefer that like I'm going to run at you until you die kind of play style, or I'm going to run at you to scare you off while the rest of my team is killing off whatever fragment of your team is still standing where they're standing. So I love where the current jungle's headed because like the strong counter jungle bruisers are really, really strong right now. So it's a lot of fun for me. And going back, I did love the Jax thing earlier in the season for top lane because I was probably playing more top lane than I played jungle last season. But at the same time, I think a lot of that had to do with, or at least my transition to top for the most part in last season, because I've always been a top lane and jungler player, was they had spam nerfed my favorite champion, which was Elise. I mean, how many nerfs did she get last season? It was
All
like
the nerfs.
almost every patch for like 5 patches in a row. So it's one of those things. I had in season 3, I probably had 300 or so games on just her. And, when I played that champion so much and that's like become my go-to jungling champion, I was just kind of disenchanted with the jungling role when they had, by the end of the season, Elise was in kind of a hurtful spot. And she's still not the absolute greatest, but she's still really solid right now just because of the itemization changes and the fact that she can gank after level 3 now as compared to a lot of other junglers. I don't know. I really like the direction in which the jungle is going right now. Plus with all the diversity opening up with the new smitems and whatnot, there's still tons of room to innovate. So, and again, because the jungle is so much harder, you're not seeing those assassins picked every game.
Right.
Which I mean, this might not be a popular view with a lot of other people, and this is just like a personal preference thing, but I don't really like when you go into a game and you can guarantee that there's going to be 2 assassins, 1 out of the jungle and 1 out of the mid lane. And even sometimes
either.
you might even see 3, like another 1 out of the top lane because somebody's feeling like that. Now that it's harder to jungle assassins, people that are jungling in solo queue actually play bruisers and tanks. Imagine that. You can win more games because they don't go in to do stupid stuff and die.
Well, it's still it's a weird place that League is in where Malachi, for example, is really powerful. He's a fighter / bruiser. He's not like a straight tank. Like he can do damage. He has a spot in the game where he's doing quite a bit of damage. He can duel people, and I kind of think when we were talking about the Ghost Crawler the first time, he even said they kind of want to do away with that or have less of that, rather not get rid of it, but less bruisers that can do tons of damage, because we had season 4 was a Renekton bar for 3/4 of the season. We dealt with top lane Renekton, who dominated every matchup. This podcast argued about it with, I Declawed and myself argued about it for 30 minutes. Who's better, Cho'Gath or Renekton? Who wins that matchup? And
and even though for the most part I think Cho's a great character, not his abilities are hard to hit, but for the most part, like I love how a lot of the stuff in his kit works and how tanky he can get, but how many times did we see Cho'Gath played? You know, like Renekton was solid, and a lot of people could pick him up.
The argument. It was Declawed, being Declawed and picking something off meta. That's Declawed.
Right.
He has fun with it. That's fine. It works for him, and it can work for other people who listen to this podcast. But when we had to deal with the Renekton bar in game, that influenced all of the other lanes, and it's much like how the game is going now. Jungle, or top lane, is about picking the heavy CC or heavy lane bullies right now, and that's affecting jungle because jungle now has to make up for the loss of damage or the lack of CC that's coming out of top lane, whatever it may be that you don't run in top lane, and bottom lane has to make up for bottom lane. Well, really, bottom lane's own entity now. Excuse me. Where
Right.
you don't have to pick Thresh and Leona. You can pick Nami or Sona or whatever you want to be.
Or even like right now, Graves Janna is as popular as it's ever been.
Janna anything, right?
Yeah, Janna, what a bitch.
So I like where League is headed, but it's always top lane and jungle, no matter what season we're in. They affect each other.
Well, and now with all the changes they made to the jungle, I feel like when you're playing jungle, the jungle actually feels like something you're fighting rather than something that you're
farming.
Yeah, you're farming while you're planning out your next move. So it's just an extra added, layer of difficulty, which is it's nice, and it really brings out you can immediately tell the better players when it comes to that role. How many times have we gotten into games where, and I'm not saying that even games that are like I'm in or anything like that, how many times have you gotten in a game where one jungler just completely outclassed the other jungler, and because of that, they knew when every dragon was coming up, so they went to get it. So they're getting their team huge buffs, and the enemy jungler, who probably wasn't as experienced, wasn't always on it, or he'd be off doing something when dragon was going to spawn or things like that.
I played jungle for the very first time this last weekend in a fan game. And this for the first time I can actually say I liked playing jungle. While I wasn't the best at it, I may have not started correctly. I made it through by listening to this podcast saying, go back when you had 350 gold, or go back just after 350 gold, go pick up your next item. Keep track of timers, keep track of this, be aware of what your lanes are at. It allowed me to help the game win. So, in my opinion, for the seasoned veteran of this game, the jungle the way it is now is more forgiving and easier to play than those who have never played jungle before. It is as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, I haven't played jungle since the changes either, and I've kind of been scared off of it just because of the amount of buffs and the amount of choices you have now, where I'm not sure what to smite when or what jungler is even good right now.
But I think that's why I say that, because you're an analytical mind.
Well,
I'm actually really looking at Days for this, because we had just joked Days going to Bronze Boot Camp and play jungle, but I think you'd be surprised if you played Jarvan. You had a little bit of Jarvan under your belt, for example. You went and played there. You would go, okay, well, Krugs gives me a stun. If I stun it early, I get the stun every 5 auto attacks. I can take red after that, and my stun will be up again by the time I finish red, or I walk over to the Wraiths or Raptors, and I can use that Raptor buff to go clear top lane and go back. Like, that's the type of stuff that we all think about when we're playing the game, or at least I would hope we think about. And that's why I think Days would actually be a better jungler than what she gives herself credit for.
Well, and
I think anyone with any strategic game knowledge is going to be fairly decent at the role. And I think there's a big gap between the fairly decent and the people who have been jungling for a long time. Like, I think people like Chira have that ability, and the game sense that he has and the experience he has would way outclass everything. But I think that there is a lot of room for making a difference in that game, even if you haven't played jungle before, just by having that strategic knowledge. I can't tell you how many games I've lost because junglers like to, for some reason, dance around dragon when it's up in 45 seconds and die for no reason.
Yep.
And then the other team gets the dragon. And there's no reason to be there or to risk your death, or they make a really risky gank right before dragon's up and the other team has the vision of it. And I think Punch, when we were doing it, happened in one game. And I was like, man, I feel like that's happening all the time now. So if you know, dragon's coming up and you have the game sense to get ready for it and to not die before it, or, to force them to make risky plays, and, just that strategic game knowledge will go a long way now in terms of, controlling that for your team.
I agree. Overall game knowledge is something that I think every person, if you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out what the next level to take it is too, you know everything about top lane, you know everything about the place you play. It's overall game knowledge and understanding how information affects you, affects the enemy team. Just knowing where Rek'Sai's tunnels are at, for example, and how to play against that. Were we playing the other day? Was it you and me, Chiro? I think we were playing. I kept screaming about it. I was like, step on his fucking tunnels because he's making it to every team fight.
It was funny because, like, it wouldn't even necessarily be that. It'd be like we'd kill off Rek'Sai early on in a team fight, and then, like, by the end of that team fight, when people are still cleaning up, like, the fights would be going on so long because they were sloppy, and then Rek'Sai would, like, teleport and come back and be back in. So it was effectively borderline. I mean, this was early in the game, so it was borderline a 6v5 or whatever it was. But there were just times where, like,
3v3 that turned into a 4v3.
Yeah, it's weird because when you play against players that know how to deal with Rek'Sai's tunnels, it is really annoying to play that champion because you feel like your ult is almost useless. But if your team isn't dealing with tunnels and there's just a shitload of tunnels everywhere and they're not reacting to them or not stopping or, you know, keeping the amount of tunnels down or whatever, Rek'Sai could do way more stuff. And it's weird because there's almost this level of awareness that you have if your team is able to stop those tunnels, because for the most part, Rek'Sai's will put tunnels in pretty similar places over the course of the game, and they'll wanna teleport in behind certain spots or feel that they need to have tunnels in certain areas for escape routes or whatever. You kind of get this weird like look into their mind and how they want to set up for fights or even position around the map to do something later, because it's a chess game when it comes to the tunnels, because they have to put the tunnel down to use their ult to it later. But it's just, we were in a game that there were a lot of tunnels up, and between the two of us, with us trying to take objectives and whatnot, we couldn't deal with all of them, and it really came back to bite us at a couple of fights. We ended up winning the game, but it went on way longer than it needed to. I mean, again, I think we were up like 4 dragons to 0 at one point, and fights were still going 50-50 every once in a while. It was annoying.
I think just the issue of not stopping the tunnels just comes down to people not reading the patch notes and not watching the champion spotlights. I mean, that's all it takes to define or to learn about that strategy that they give you in the champion spotlight. Like, hey, this is what you do to counter this new champion. And then people that don't watch it, and you get into a game and you're playing against enemy Rek'Sai, and someone on your team goes, "Oh, so what does this champion do?"
Right.
I was in a game 2 months ago where somebody said, they said, why is Kennan's auto attack range so short? And I was like, they changed that in season 2. They nerfed his auto attack range by like 50 points. I said, how are you like, what? How do you not know? He's like, I haven't played the champion since then. But, just...
Well, and for somebody...
People listening to this podcast right now, we're just complaining for the sake of complaining. People listening to this podcast are hearing patch notes. They're listening to them. Are they actually
we appreciate
them and are they putting them into practice? Yes, no, maybe.
Well, and to be honest, that just goes to show you how much information there is to know about this game to reach higher levels of play or anything like that. Like, there are certain people that can get to gold or higher just off mechanical skills, but they might not know what other champions can do. Like, if somebody's in a ranked game and they're in gold, plat, or whatever, and they don't know that Kennan's, like, they used to play Kennan a lot and now Kennan's attack range has been shortened, like, what the hell? They're probably good. They just don't know what the hell's going on. And there's a ton of stuff to know. But it's one of those things, you're arming yourself with information ammunition. And the more you know, the better you're going to be able to deal with a wide variety of situations, whether that be because of certain champions being able to synergize together or just knowing how to outlane an opponent because oh, hey, for example, the individual who tweeted us today about Vladimir. If you're playing against Vladimir and you're playing Rumble, you can shield his Q and then trade back to his face because his early game cooldown reduction isn't high enough for him to spam abilities.
Rumble and just general knowing how to play Rumble is you can take a full trade as long as you have W up and then just chase them down with your Q.
They have to run from you unless they can out trade you. But for the most part, there's not that many champions that can just out trade Rumble's flame spitter early.
That's more of coming into it, into just learning how to trade in general, because you can take that burst of a quarter or half your life but you're going to give 3 quarters back to them because you understand
Right.
limitations of your champion and understand, how much damage you're going to do. That's an extreme example. It's never actually half or 3 quarters of your life, but the easiest way I can explain it is that for you to take a half damage and give 3 quarters back, you win the trade.
The easiest way for you to explain it is to make big dramatic statements.
That's exactly it. With about 15 minutes left in this podcast, I'm going to let, kind of give the floor to other people cheering. I feel like I've been monopolizing it, and Punch got a shit-eating grin, and I keep watching Days open her mouth like she wants to say something. So any big points? What are we looking forward to in Season 5? Do we have big hopes for Season 5? Have there been changes? What is it?
God, I'm taking over again. I really want
Go for
to
it.
see them change up the jungling items just a bit to make it so Rangers isn't. I mean, they did something last patch with them reducing the cooldown or raising the cooldown on Rangers, so it's not, in my opinion, one of the best of the 4. I think they need to do certain things to kind of bring all 4 of those items in line. And I'm really happy with the diversity in junglers. I just want to see way more diversity. It comes down to that, and that's just something that's a gripe every season. I just like to see more champions. I want the game to feel vibrant.
Am I
and
allowed to bitch about
different.
Sejuani and Amumu? Am I
Go
allowed
for
to
it.
do that? No,
What,
I'm just,
because they're the same champion?
well, because they're the same
Is
goddamn
that-
champion, but Sejuani is actually finally, at the end of the day, better than Amumu is.
You
If you-
used your
it-
most hated phrase, Adam.
I know I did at the end of the day. But
How
you know
dare
why
you.
they're better? Because Sejuani's Q is not based on hitting an opponent or hitting a creep for mobility. She can just move wherever she wants, which makes it better than Amumu's. And her W does more damage because it's an auto attack based off AP, and then it's based off opponent's maximum life when it's spinning. So it does more damage than Amumu's does. And she's got a ranged ultimate. Like, you have heard that 3 pieces. They both have
Oh, yeah.
tankiness built into kit somewhere. Amumu's has a great passive that actually is just as good as Sejuani's, if not better, but it's unappreciative. He reduces magic resist of the person he's auto attacking. That's his passive.
Amumu is a lot easier to kite as well
That's
because he
definitely
has
true.
to get that Q off, and his
Well,
Right, 'cause he
ultimate
doesn't- he
isn't
doesn't have extra
ranged.
slow, right?
Right, he
Well,
doesn't have a gap closer, so he's a lot easier to kite.
The passive slow for Sejuani is so huge when it comes to that, and even with some CDR, I feel like Sejuani's Q is probably up slightly more often than Bandage Toss is.
They're
But
actually the same.
are they really?
They
It might
start-
just
they
be
start at
because they're
16
so
or
much
18,
closer.
yeah.
I don't know, but
Bandage toss is longer range because you have to hit somebody with it.
right.
And Q, you don't have to.
But
Fuck those 2 champions. I don't want to talk about them. I want to
You
talk
just
about
don't like
diversity.
the
But my
lockdown?
whole point is that, like, since season 2, I've been screaming about how they're the same goddamn champion, and this is why you should play one or the other. But finally, it's come to the point. It took to season 5 to make it where Sejuani for the Trinity Force podcast is finally the best
hey, and
jungle
for
AoE champion right now.
for those people who
Hooray.
got to watch the games, last
Yeah.
weekend, she got played by Gambit.
She sure
Diamond.
did.
Yeah,
All right, back to diversity. So the thing I'm looking forward to in 2015 is what's going on right now with the bot lane, and as
Oh,
Shira
yeah.
said, I think that's the diversity. Or you can pretty much play whatever you want.
Now, I'm going to ask
Almost.
you both. This is whoever wants to answer this question. Edward said that Nami is terrible right now. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Before you jump in, Days,
Slap
I
him
want to
down,
say
Punch.
that I always love playing with Nami. Like, I feel like she's got pretty much everything. She has the sustain and the ability to pick somebody out. Like, if you're playing a bursty champion like Graves, she gets a good bubble off, then you can just jump in and blow their face off. And then she also has disengage. So I always love playing with Nami. I feel like she's got the total package.
I feel like I actually don't have a problem with Nami. I don't play a lot of her. Dom actually got me playing her for a while, and she's pretty fun. And I feel right now, one of the great things about Nami was her ability to foil a gank, like her between her ultimate
yeah.
and her bubble and her slow and her heal. But you're not getting those ganks as often in the bot lane. And I feel like there are, if you want the sustain, you have Sona. If Sona is better sustain, Sona is better I know I'm partial to Sona, but there was a time when Nami, what I would easily admit that Nami was outclassed Sona in the bot lane. But Sona right now has more poke. She has more sustain. If you're going for straight sustain right now, Soraka has more sustain. I feel like right now she's in a weird spot where she's still very viable, and if you want to play her, then she's definitely not a bad pick. There's just a lot going on in the bot lane right now, and it's Nami's very, very dependent on hitting those bubbles, and she's a very high skill cap support, and the people who are going to make the most of her are going to be the people in the higher ranks, and it's pretty easy to outpoke her. It's pretty easy to out-sustain her. So she's in just a weird spot where she's kind of good at everything and not great at any one thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Maybe that's what Edward's talking about, is that she's a jack of all trades, and whenever you want to pick her for a certain reason, you're better off picking another champion. Like if you want disengage, you're better off picking Janna. If you want sustain, you're better off picking Sona.
Okay, so here's my questions. Now, Sona can poke better than Nami can. But Nami's going to bring more to your AD carry. So what if you have somebody that, like, what do you have an AD carry? I'm not going to say double lift because I don't think he's the best. But what do you have the best AD carry in the world right now? Somebody who's also positioning, also
Sneaky's pretty good.
Yeah, Sneaky's fantastic. I think he's better than double lift. So absolutely, good choice. What if I'm playing with somebody that understands how to risk reward, understands how to use Nami, the E when he grabs it perfectly? Does that make her a better choice than Sona in lane while they're doing similar? Nami's empowering the AD carry more than Sona is.
The thing about Sona is that while you're empowering the AD carry, you're also empowering yourself. When you use that Q, you're both getting that proc off on it. When you're using your heal to trade, you're both getting the shield off on it. And honestly, in solo queue, it's really hard to put that E on your AD carry and to expect them to use that properly, to expect them to use the slow so that you can hit your bubble, or so they can,
that's why I bring
give
up
playing the
with somebody
CS
that you play with normally does not make a better choice than Sona in that. Or is it really what the ultimates come to those two champions?
I think the ultimates play such a big part. I mean, Nami's ultimate's great, but again, if you want to disengage, like Punch was just saying, Janna is in a really good spot right now. If you're going just for the disengage, there's no real reason not to pick her.
Sure.
And, if you're going for I just feel like, she's a good pick. And if you have someone who works well with her and you duo a lot, or you have a ranked 5s team and your ADC is really comfortable with it, Nami's not. I don't agree that she's in a terrible spot. I just think that she's good at everything and great at nothing right now. So she's just in, and Janna was in that spot for a long time, and she's kind of come back into the limelight, and the meta's helped her out a little bit, and she's in a really good spot right now. So that's just how the bot lane meta is. Like it rise and fall of champions. Even if nothing happens to them, it's all about who they're with and who the other teams are playing and things like that.
Another thing you have to take into consideration when you've got a quote like this from a professional player is majority of the time they're talking about the game at the professional level. Like maybe Nami isn't in a good spot at the LCS level, but for the rest of us mortals, Nami could be. I played against a really good Nami the other day, and she almost dominated the lane.
If we looked at the expansion tournament, how many times did a multi-person bubble turn around fights between Fusion and whatever team they're playing? That was a huge piece of those games, and I don't feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't really, for the most part, I don't think Europe's all that great right now. So maybe Edward's just not been playing against that many great Nami players. But
even NA's not that. I mean, sorry to hijack your thought.
No. I mean,
NA's not, because we watched Gambit. Spoiler alert: IEM. If you don't like it, fucking shut it off. You can listen to the LCS rundown when they come back and they talk about IEM.
No spoilers, please.
But Gambit won, but nobody was putting precedence onto Lissandra or Gnar. Nobody was really trying to pick at those champions, these super powerful top lane champions that are right now. Nobody is playing Kennen on patch 4.21 where he's super powerful. Nobody's picking him up. We're probably not going to see Kennen for 2 or 3 patches.
He'll come around eventually.
Yeah, but there's champions where you would think that these pros would really jump into. So your point, to go back what the pros say, doesn't mean it's gospel. Now, I'm not saying Trinity Force podcast is gospel either, but you need to weigh. It's like not checks and balances. You need to weigh whose opinion do you appreciate more. Like we're saying, the Nami's not that bad for solo queue. It might be bad for rank 5s. Now, I have a really bad problem when I bring stuff up on the podcast. I think about it from a rank 5s perspective. It's always from a team perspective.
I think it from the exact opposite. I'm almost strictly solo queue in my way of thinking.
I usually look at a solo queue sort of thing. I don't know. I've been on the receiving end of just really good Namis landing that one bubble that could completely shift a lane, and you could say the same thing for a lot of other
You can say that
champions.
about any champion.
Right,
Like that's what
right.
it comes down to at the end of the day.
It's
like if you
your
play a
proficiency.
champion, yeah, and you're good at it, then it doesn't matter what anyone else has to say about it. Like if you want to play Urgot jungle and you're gonna dominate as it, and that's what you do, and that's what you're good at, then play it. You know, don't listen. I mean, you may have problems convincing people in champ select that that's a good idea.
And
But other than
Where's
that,
Wrecker
like,
at this
things
point?
work.
yeah, Jesus.
Where
Like, if
Wrecker
you
was
can get it
playing
to work, then
Jungle
play it.
Karma and Jungle Suede. Like, yeah, it just I'm strengthening your point of he was playing these random most people would go, that's a terrible, jungler, and he'd make it fucking work, and this dude would just go nuts with it because he's such his skill level is such higher than the players he was playing. It doesn't matter what you play.
I don't know how well some of those champs are going to work with the current iteration of the jungle.
Oh no, sure, they're probably terrible, but I think it kind of goes with like Daze, who's playing this AP Sona, and Sona inside out, her so well that this isn't a shot at you, Daze, and really it isn't. But
No, I know.
at what point is your skill outshining the other players when you have the Lich Bane? Could I go in with the same Sona and use that Lich Bane to make it work? Probably not, because my skill on Sona is not as high.
I have been shouting that sentiment to the high heavens for the past month now. And just if you think you've beat the game and you found something like an off-kilter build that works and you went slightly positive in a game, it very well might not be because that build was actually good. It might just be because you are much more proficient at the champion that you are playing than the opponents were at the champions that they were playing.
I've actually talked with 2 supports about Daze's Sona build, and my buddy Urtai echoed your sentiment, Pone, that the reason Daze's Sona build works so well is because Daze plays so much goddamn Sona. And now,
You know what though? He did message me on Twitter and say how he thinks it's freaking amazing. So
Well, there was
I don't think any of us are
the
saying it's
support on my
bad,
ranked 5s team. That might have been the one who messaged you actually.
oh yeah.
He was saying that he really loved the build. So
a lot of it comes down to play style,
yep, yeah.
It just all depends. Like if you have a really passive play style and you try to attempt Sona the way I do, it's not going to be successful. And if I try to play Soraka the way some people play Soraka, I'm going to fail miserably at it. Like you just have to know your style, know yourself and your limitations, and know your champion. But don't listen. If someone tells you not to play something, if you enjoy playing it and you want to put the time into learning it, then play it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Here.
I'm actually
Even though I don't follow that, I just play the meta. But I appreciate. I
Hey,
respect.
I'm in the same spot as you, Punch. I play the meta for the most part. Like, I try to look for ways to break the meta, but not so outside the meta that it's like insane. Like, oh, we're playing top Urgot now, even though he's got a 40% win rate. Like that type of shit.
I try going back to the meta, and then I'll have a couple bad games, and I'll be like, damn it, I'm just going to play like one game of Sona just to get back into the groove of things.
Yeah, I've heard this.
And then I just like destroy people, and then I'm like, why am I playing anything other than Sona? Like I have a 58% win rate with her in plat and ranked. Why am I playing something other than Sona? And then I'll be like, no, I have to play the meta, and I'll go back to it. It's an ongoing like revolving circle with me.
Is it a door or a circle?
Door, whatever.
No, I'm just curious.
think
Like,
it's
are you
funny.
kicking yourself out, come back
I
in?
think it's funny because we have such a weird like
Dynamic.
split of people on this podcast. Like Declawed plays whatever Declawed plays. He plays only champions that aren't in meta unless it's Pantheon. Whatever. You two, as in Punch and Adam, both of you play strictly meta champions. Daze is Sona guru over here, and then I just play champions with a beard and a spider. Like
you play assholes. Yeah, no.
yeah, I guess
But that's the
I
beauty of League of
played
Legends is as much as
jerks.
our opinion here, and you guys on the podcast, listening out there in podcast land, that you got to find the personality on this podcast you like the most, and I think that's what I like to pride this. We're gonna pat ourselves in the back here. I pride the podcast because we have every piece of the personality right now. We have the above average league player. We have the good league player. We have, I'm not going to say poor league player because I don't think any of us are poor. But, everybody at their certain role or at certain roles in the game have different thoughts on how that role should be played. And you just got to find the person that you agree with and then tell us they're wrong. I had somebody write in and say, I disagree with Adam about his assessment on Assassins. And you know what? The more I play, the more I start to disagree with myself. I know I'm right, but I know I'm wrong at the same time because Zed and Fizz are so fucking powerful.
Well, that and what LeBlanc's starting to make a comeback,
Yeah,
and
I put LeBlanc into that whole.
Akali's getting banned every other game.
Yeah. Well, at this
don't
point,
know.
I think
The
Akali
thing
is
about-
falling in Cassidy.
Watch out for Cassidy.
Yeah.
The thing about having 5 people on and people of different mentalities and different roles and different levels, and people who think of the game as 5s, people who think of solo queue, is that we're going to disagree a lot. And the fans too, like we get emails in saying that they disagree and things like that. But all it does is help you get better at the game. Like none of us claim to know 100% of what there is to know about the game, or be the best at it, or be able to tell you exactly how to win or climb. But it all, like, we learn just as much from doing this as the people that we're teaching.
If you go and you are one of the people that think that you know everything about a certain role, or you don't have anything left to learn, then you're not getting any better. And
Well,
you're
you're
going to
not
be
listening
stuck
to
in the
anything
you're going to
we
be
say.
stuck in the spot where you're at. Like, it's really hard to improve if you think you don't have anything to improve upon. And I mean, that's another thing that we try to rehash over and over again. Everybody is just a differing shade of bad at this game, and the
Like
only
I
way
say.
you're going to get better
Sundays
is
with Photophobia are coming back, baby. You get to watch how bad I am. I was giving it the holidays.
50 Shades of Bad.
50 Shades of Bad, the Ponophobia story.
Yo, wow, that's going pretty far with this. Well, speaking of bad, terrible. This is gonna be a terrible segue. But Journey to 30, I have 45
Wow.
plus.
Wow.
Okay, guys, the dog is gonna bark going nuts in the background because the girlfriend just showed up. So I apologize if you're listening to the audio right now. But no, the Journey to 30 is we've had like 45 plus applications come in to help co-host the Journey to 30. So if you want to know where your application is at, we're not getting back to anybody until after the new year.
Okay.
It is one of those where even though we're going to have a podcast before the new year ends, I think I have to look at the dates. Let me pull up the dates right here since we're doing this. These guys will learn. We're going to have one show this week, which is the week of December 22nd. We're going to have one show the week of December 29th. So 2 Monday episodes, and then we're off, for the 1st and everything. Like, I don't want anybody to. I mean, we can do it. You know what? If you guys are up for it, we can do a 30.
We'd be passed out drunk.
We'll get drunk before the podcast, go to our parties, and be more drunk. But no, we'll probably do one podcast next 2 weeks. But anyway, the long and the short of it is we've had 45 plus applications in the Journey to 30. I love that you guys are out there. You really want to help out in podcast land. You guys really want to help us get a new podcast out. I know how many people are listening to this show and want another show to listen to. So thank you guys for putting it out there. We're going to get back to you. New podcast come out in the new year. Other than that, I was going to say Old Saint Banhammer, who I know at the end of the
I love
show.
that guy.
Old Saint Banhammer's great. He's giving out.
I feel like
he has
well,
gifts for the podcast. The people doing podcasts right now with us.
see you say old, but I feel like you need to pull a beard out of somewhere and just even if it's like a
Old.
fake cotton
Old apostrophe.
Hold
not
on.
old.
I need you guys
Totally
to continue
different.
the show because I'm going to unlock the door.
Oh God.
All right. He's unlocking the door. I'm fighting off the dog. This is what happens at the hour mark. Things
Yeah,
just start
Are
seriously,
you
breaking.
kidding?
everything-
This whole show has been like a mess of like random noises and things going on. Just-
Children
Good
running
point.
into the room
Right.
naked and gone.
That's why you turn in
sounds and-
live to catch all this crap.
Yeah, I was about to say. I've been slowly sinking more and more into this reclining chair that I've been sitting in the
Pretty soon
entire
your
show.
skin is gonna fuse with the chair.
I know.
All right,
It's
so you guys are
comfortable.
talking about the chair. Let's go back to Old Saint Banhammer. Sorry, Luke fucking locked the door. Anyway, I'm going to end this show. This other show, Old Saint Banhammer is still giving out RP. Email contest at TrinityForcePodcast.com. Tell me why you've been naughty or nice. And the fun fact about Old Saint Banhammer is he does not only give out RP. We actually had somebody email us and ask us to help out with Christmas and and give spread more holiday cheer. The Old Saint Banhammer's out here. He's ready to spread holiday cheer. So if you want something, if you need something, if you can tell me why you need it and you can give me the best story that you can, Old Saint Banhammer might be able to help. So email the Trinity Force Podcast, Trinity Force Podcast Network.
It's
out here,
disturbingly
so.
vague.
I can't really
Whatever
say.
you
I'm not gonna give you $100. I'm not gonna pay your rent. I'm not gonna pay whatever. Like that's not gonna happen. Sorry about your luck. But the Old Saint Banhammer is here to help. He's ready to spread holiday cheer. He gave Days granola. The Old Saint Banhammer is amazing. Come on. I just want.
Wow, you gave everyone else granola too.
Damn it!
Wow,
I just wanted her to laugh and give me the evil the stink eye. Like, fuck you, you asshole. But yeah, I think that's it for the Trinity Force podcast for this week. Did we all
Somehow we
did we
made-
all have fun on the holiday episode of the Trinity Force podcast?
Are we gonna
Yeah.
have another like weird episode on Monday?
Do you want to have a weird
like-
episode on Monday?
New Year's?
How weird are we talking? Because I can get really weird
Are we
if you
gonna
want to get weird.
Excuse me. We should do another weird episode. Yeah. No, we will. We're
I'll
gonna-
actually drink for that one.
Are we gonna have a plan for this weird episode,
Which
or are we
means
just
the
gonna
accent will be
phone
bad
it in?
then.
Listen, we phoned it in, but it worked out. Okay. No, I'm gonna send out something on Twitter, or if you're listening now and you have like a good I can't say it. ANC anecdote. I can never say
Anecdote?
It.
I thought
Anecdote. Thank you.
the first was next week, Adam.
Well, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you all, and listen to me. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna enjoy the podcast. If you want to come on the podcast, we might do another. I didn't really put it out there, but I might throw it on Twitter. If you want to come on the podcast, just email it. And let me know. You guys have a week to come up with this, so that's it. We're gonna do something fun. If you want to come on the podcast on Monday, be around at 7:00 or 8:00 Eastern, 8:00 Eastern Daylight Time.
There better be singing involved because I think we owe people some singing.
I think you owe people.
I'm
something.
not
Punch.
singing.
You owe us a gong hit, and we're out. See you guys next week.
Deuces.
Hi guys.
See ya.